supporters. Please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/bookofhours or join Rockfin at rockfin.com/bookofhours. You can also make a one-time donation with Cash App or use PayPal at paypal.me/bookofhours. Thank you. All right. Hi. We're back again.
It's been a while since we did a
I
bookmark.
looked at the dates on our folders because I keep an archive, and we were on a month ago. So
Yeah,
it's been a
wow.
whole month since we've
Yeah.
done a bookmark. But,
Yeah,
anyway.
there's been a lot going on. We just, in general, in the world and with our lives as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Those of you who are on our newsletter list know that we've been dealing with a few things. So
Yeah.
hence no bookmark
For a while,
For a little
but-
while. Usually we try to do one every couple weeks, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, today we are actually going to be bringing a friend of ours on who
Yeah.
lives in Florida.
Yeah.
Some of you know her. Her name is Brandi Ann, and we consider her a good friend.
Yeah.
We've had her on in the past, and we have had, I don't know, we've developed a nice little friendship.
Mhm.
We've never met in person yet,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that will change
Eventually,
soon,
yeah.
hopefully.
So what we're going to talk to her about, and you guys, of course, is what's going on in Florida regarding real estate. There's been some land grabs, real estate grabs going
Mhm.
on, and they're affecting ordinary people in extraordinary ways, and in a really bad way. And it's a lot of people want to move to Florida, but there's been a lot of graft and corruption going on around housing, especially around like condo ownership and other things. So she's going to give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of the lay of the land, what's going on, maybe hopefully a little bit more than that. Tell us what's going on with her and her neighbors, and try to get a broader picture of what's really going on, so that, if you're planning to buy a condo in Florida, you have some information to back you up in case.
Right. And I think ultimately what this is we've all discovered over the last few years, and, this was something that was going on even before COVID, is that we are all sort of at the mercy of these land grabs.
Mhm.
We discovered, through Catherine Austin Fitts, that a lot of the fires that were taking place in the summer of 2020 in Seattle and Minneapolis just so happened to be cover for real estate acquisition, basically.
Yeah.
And so I think that we're seeing something else where the poor or the middle class are getting pushed out
Mhm.
and swallowed by corporate interests.
Right. And they're, and these things are happening through, opportunity zones, through, through other sort of like strategic initiatives that, maybe buy a property around where you are,
Mhm.
And make it so that you have to move out, or, there's other people that are dealing with imminent domain issues.
Mhm.
And so, and in the name of sustainable development goals,
Mhm.
things like that. So there's a lot of mean things going on to help,
to say the least,
to hurt people and move them out of their homes. And I think,
Right.
The ultimate goal is something that none of us really want. I mean, even like, the idea of a 15-minute city is attractive to me, but it's not necessarily something I want to be forced into.
Mhm.
And Julie and I had that kind of lifestyle when we lived in San Francisco, but it was our choice, and we were free to move around, as opposed to being geofenced and being pushed into something we didn't necessarily want to be in.
Right.
And so I feel like, a lot of these
or just losing
Yeah.
a place that was our own,
Right.
which is what Brandi Ann is going through right now. So
Exactly.
let's go ahead and bring her
Okay.
on.
Yeah. So welcome to the Bookmark, Brandi Ann. Hi.
Hi.
How you doing?
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I'm gonna turn it down there.
We're really happy to see you. You look great. You look very
Thank you.
beautiful.
You look cute too. I like your shirt.
Thanks.
Summery, it's time to cut loose a little bit and get some sun. But we really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. I've been following you for a while. I feel that we're friends, and I would really like to hear, and I would like to share your story and what's going on with you in your condo situation with anybody else who might benefit from this.
Okay. So basically, the government down here has always been like really corrupt when it comes to building integrity and structures and any apartment building basically in South Florida.
Okay.
So when Surfside happened, it was a Miami condo that collapsed. And what happened was the developers were in with the city council members, the engineers were just signing things off. The city engineer actually said that the building was safe, which it definitely wasn't. They had concrete spalling. They had basically like leaking in the downstairs part of their when you walk in.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just like, people didn't understand like that the building was about to collapse. And so no one told these people. And, they had an HOA board, which is basically a member of the community that runs for this board that controls basically everything they do. And they've tried, but it was during the coronavirus. So like everything they wanted to do costed a lot of money, and they didn't want to hit people during the coronavirus. So for like large assessments and everything. And so after that collapsed, that changed everything. Like it changed the whole condo market. It changed apartments. Like right now, the state of Florida is going after all of affordable housing is the way that I look at it. Any building that's above like 2 or 3 structures, like floors, you're going to need a structural engineer, a geospatial engineer. You're going to need to have a reserve fund study done. And the problem with a lot of these condos in South Florida, like mine, people have embezzled, because there really isn't any strict laws to protect homeowners or to go after the people on your board. Like with everything that's happening in my condo, I can't even sue them, like I would have sued them for what they have done to us, but I can't because it requires some type of mediation before you do that. So homeowners basically have 0 rights, and renters have like even less rights when it comes to that.
So let's back up a little bit. Let's go back to the what was it called, Surfside? Okay, so this was an event that took place in 2020. Is that correct?
I think it was like it was like 2021, 2020, somewhere around there.
And what actually happened? Let's tell our audience what actually happened.
Part of their entire building collapsed, and it killed like over 100 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And was this how big of a condo complex was this?
It was huge. Like it was like the high rises that you see on the beach. Like it was
See.
A very nice condo. Wow. Like people that had money lived there.
I remember when I heard about the Surfside story, and this was outside of me hearing it from you, but I remember thinking that it paralleled with, do you remember the Grenfell Towers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Was it England?
Yeah, it was in the UK.
But that was affordable housing.
Yeah.
This was,
high-end.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I just thought that was really interesting. Like
it is.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of suspicious activity around that fire as well.
Yeah.
So this was a case of poor building,
total neglect,
and so neglect on maintenance, but also just like poor quality of building in the first place. Like it sounds to me like
horrible.
Like things like you said, like the city engineer like signed off on stuff that they probably shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Exactly. Like they were getting paid by the developer, who was a Canadian guy who actually evaded jail in New York and came down to Florida, because everybody comes to Florida, when you're in trouble. Came down to Florida, literally built these buildings, didn't even like, he was the developer, he was also the person that like manages the project, and he was also the one that like gave the city all of his plans. So like he was in charge of everything. Like usually you have like a developer and then a guy that like comes in and does this. Like he did all of it. So he cut like as many corners as you possibly could. So like down here, like my boss used to tell me, like, you should have seen what they were doing in the 80s. Like, because like South Florida, basically from, I would say Orlando down, is all built on like cocaine and corruption. Like,
Wow.
especially in the 80s. Yeah. So literally. And like,
Wow.
so they were stretching concrete. Like they were getting like, say $200 worth of concrete, and they were putting water in it and stretching it to like 400 to 500. So like, this is their attitude. This is like how they were doing things back then. Like it wasn't a big deal. They were like, yeah, like it'll stand up. Not sure for how long, but not my problem, and would leave. Like that's literally the attitude of South Florida building.
You know, it's funny. I had a condo in San Francisco, but condos in San Francisco are a different story than what you're dealing with. What they are is they're old apartment buildings where you have maybe 2 units, and they're really expensive. And so because of the kind of building quality that these people were doing, and probably in other parts of the country, where a condo is considered sort of like a glorified, apartment that you own.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's hard to get. It's hard to get homeowner insurance.
Yeah.
And
oh my God.
I had to find a special broker to deal with it, because you're dealing with the loan is called like a super loan, or some like a big size loan that's like different than normal loans, because of the property values in San Francisco. And this was I'm going back 20 years, so I mean and so condos were considered junk, except in San Francisco they weren't, so they were like a special case. But it's because of those kind of building practices
exactly
that went on. Although we also had like corners cut when they were developing. Remember lofts? When lofts were popular in San Francisco, they would actually build out these things. They would build lofts instead of like using old studio or old warehouse spaces. They'd actually build these things and call them lofts. And basically, what they were is like an open space condo with an area upstairs where you could have your bed.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And because they were considered live workspaces. Not really, but they were considered that. They were able to cut a lot of corners in the construction as well. So who knows how they're standing up these days?
Yeah, if they can do it, they'll do it.
Right, exactly.
Tell us, okay, so that gives us a background about Surfside, and then some more input about how difficult it is to insure these places. But tell us what's going on with your building personally. Okay. And with you, I know there's a lawsuit involved. Can you bring some clarity to that?
Yeah, so our building was built before Surfside. So ours was built in probably, I think it was like 1974. And so in our building, it's basically like a carbon copy, I say, of Surfside. Like it's completely corrupt. Our board members have embezzled money. This is how they used to fix the gutters. Like they would see that the gutters were all messed up, so they'd use duct tape, put it around, and then go over it with white paint. Like that's literally how they would fix things around here. And so recently it's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
That's literally like, it's crazy. And so our building was the last affordable apartment in Florida that you can buy. Like especially on the canal. Like you cannot find a building on the water that isn't like over 200,000. Like you just won't find anything that's cheaper than that. And so we were like, oh my God, it's perfect. Like this place is awesome. Nobody told us anything. Like everybody's like, yeah, this place is great. Like, and it was like, it's laid back. Like nobody like bothers you. Like, well, they used to, but nobody used to bother you. If you dropped your keys downstairs, like literally someone would come and pick them up. Like I'm not used to that, like from where I'm from, So I'm like, oh, this is like awesome. And so fast forward, 2020, is when it really started going downhill, like really fast. Ironically, this woman moved in, and before that, we had this guy. I won't name their names just in case they're like crazy and find this, but so there was a guy that ran our board for like 10, 12 years, more than that. And I'm 99% sure he has embezzled a lot of money. And so this woman comes in, and, before this, sorry, I'm jumping. Before this, we tried to vote this board out. We were like, we're done. We want nothing to do with you. Like, you've ruined our building. We're being sued by another building because our seawall is collapsing. So they're like, well, our parking lot floods due to your seawall, even though it's not our fault at all. They're like, we're going to sue you because we can't sue the city, and we're not going to sue a Canadian guy because that's too hard. So we're going to come after you. Really convenient. So like, our building gets sued. Once a condo or an apartment building gets sued, like, you cannot sell. You can't get out. Like, if you want to rent, that's fine, kind of, but there's a lot of problems that come with that. And if you want to like refinance your mortgage, you can't do it, because as soon as your building is in litigation, it puts a complete stop on everything.
Right. Okay. So, from what I understand, I want to reiterate what you said.
Right.
So apparently, an adjacent property with a completely different board.
By this, yeah. Let me add this because it's crazy. The guy that developed this entire place, it's his son that's suing us.
Oh.
Okay. So let's get some clarity on that then. Yeah, because So, two properties developed by the same person?
Yep.
Correct. Okay. And they're like two condo. Okay. Two condo. What do you call it? I just used the word a minute ago. Complexes.
Yes.
Okay. And you're in one complex, and the one next door, their seawall is collapsing. Is that what you said?
Yeah, but technically we own it. So like, our entire seawall is just like crumbling, like not collapsing, but it's pretty old. And
So
it's
whose
like really
responsibility would that be in the first place?
ours.
Okay.
Ours.
And so what was there something going on with the HOA board that they were not responding to that?
Complete neglect. Like, they were like, no, we'll do it someday, and just let it go. Yeah.
Okay. So that's interesting.
So the developer who developed both of these properties, how is he coming into play? Because generally, at that point, you don't necessarily have an owner of a condo complex, right? It's the HOA that basically is the entity that handles everything.
Yep.
So how is he coming into this picture, and why is he suing you?
So this guy, the developer's son, owned units in the other building still. And so he was like, they're not going to fix this seawall. And I think there are some other plans in there. And he's like, we're going to sue this property. And he's gone. Like, he left. Like, he's not even here anymore. But we're still in this lawsuit. Like, and it's been over 2 years. And like I said, like, I believe he has some type of ulterior motive. Like, because like I said, like, if you sue a building, nobody can leave, nobody can sell. Like, you cannot get out, because no bank is going to want to put their money and give you a loan for that. They're like, no, like, you're getting sued.
Right.
So was he on the HOA board of the other property?
Yeah, he was the president of the HOA.
Oh, okay. Now that brings some clarity to it. So
Yep.
so he has moneyed interest in taking over both properties.
Oh yeah.
And so ultimately,
the
you think that you have a feeling that what it is he wants to take out both properties, just to just demolish them and start over.
Yeah.
You said something earlier to us off this broadcast about a marina that he would like to that he has plans to build. Is that correct?
So it's not exactly him, from what I know, but it probably is for them. Like, if you like, we have a condo HOA board here, and we tried to like vote out this crazy board. And what they did was they started like little like campaigns against the people that were running. So like, there was like a defamation lawsuit that happened. Like, people were going nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got this new woman who became our president, and I even voted for her. Like, this is how dumb I feel. Like, we voted for this lady because she was like, I'm an investor, and I don't like investors personally, so I'm like, I don't really want to vote for this woman. But if it's going to be between her and the guy that's been stealing from us, then obviously I'm going to choose her. And so I did that. And as soon as she got on the board, it was like a total 180. Like, you would not believe like how crazy it's become. Like, everything that she is doing, she's not telling any of us. She's talking about getting like a $3 million loan, and there's like only 40 people in this building. So like that's a lot of money per unit that we're gonna owe. And then on top of that, she's talking about like triple it, like fully funding our reserves. So that would be like from 280 now to like 1,500 a month just for that, like just for the HOA dues.
Right.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's an incredible increase.
All at once. Like, so that now it's like $1,500 a month just for HOA fees on top of the loan that you have to pay off now with that you didn't ask for.
Plus, you've got your own homeowner's insurance, and then whatever you have to pay into the HOA insurance. Yeah.
So you see how fast like that stacks up against people, and she knows. Like, people have said like we have low income, we have fixed income people in this building. How are you going to do this? And she said, well, it's not my problem. You know, if you live on the water, you should have expected this. And I was like, do you know where we are? Like, we are red zone still. Like, we're, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't like Boca. Like, this is like, we're still in the poor area. Like, come on. Like, but she doesn't care. And like, that's the thing. Like, she knows, like, with the city, like, she's also connected with the city. And then we have 2 people that live here that are also connected to the city. And so they know, like, and they're all on the board, by the way. So they have complete control of this. And they have connections to like Boynton and Palm Beach and all these places. And so they know that this area is being heavily gentrified. So they're like looking at this as an opportunity. And like, it's so easy to get a developer to pretty much take over. Like, right, because of Surfside, like they made these laws that developers right now are like lobbying like crazy to like take your condo, like especially mine because it's like 40 something years old. Like, they're talking after 20 years. Ours is like in the 40s, you know, so we're like really old, and they're like perfect. They don't even care about the building. Like, they want our property because it's so like, you're not going to, you know what I mean? It's a nice area, even though it's in the ghetto, like it's a really nice area. And so they just want the land. And so it's really easy for a developer to come in, even if they don't take control of the board, which they could do too. They can just buy you out, like, and they don't even have to pay you full price. Like, everyone's like, oh, we'll get a rich developer and he'll give us like 500,000. I'm like, that's never gonna happen. Like, they don't do it like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these people will come in, get on your board, buy up your units, and then they will kick you out and take over everything. Like,
and leave you with nothing.
Can they actually kick you out without paying you anything?
Absolutely. Like, if that's what they're lobbying for right now, like they want on the books to be able to like come in, and if your building is too old or too damaged, as they say, they want to be able to like just take over the entire building and like maybe not pay you nothing, but pay you like very, very, very low, like to the point where you're taking a loss anyway, and it's basically paying you to leave.
This is sort of like the equivalent of eminent domain, but it's coming from the investor class. Coming in and seeing an opportunity to build higher end, you know, with like it, you know, the thing about eminent domain is it's always under the auspices of like, oh, well, we're going to improve the land for everybody, you know, like a road or, you know, whatever it might be. And in this case, it's like, well, we're basically going to take your land to improve the land for nobody except us.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And so what would be around the valuation of what you would hope to expect for compensation for your own?
We're taking a loss regardless. Like, that's how I look.
Oh, I don't mean to get too personal. Yeah. Don't tell me if you don't feel.
No, like I'm just saying like like a lot of people here, like they're not gonna be able to afford this. Like I can't afford like this crazy amount that they're asking. Like, nobody really can. Except for like those few like snooty rich people that literally just moved in. Like, they can totally afford it. And so if they do this, like what I'm thinking they're going to do is they're going to get the loan. They're going to get approved the reserve study. So they're going to get, you know, raise our dues to like 1,500 or something outrageous. They're going to go ahead and get the loan. They're going to bring the loan in. Then they're going to say, well, you need to also pay for extra assessments. So now they can like charge you whatever they want, like whatever they want. And in Florida, unfortunately, there's no legal limit of what they can charge. So like they can literally charge you whatever to get rid of you. And so a lot of people are going to default because people cannot afford, like I said, like $3 million to 40 people is a lot of money, like broken down. And like, if 10 people, like say like 5 or 3 people default, they can come in and take their home for free now. They don't got to pay you because they're like, oh, you're late on your HOA dues and you can't afford the loan. So you're going to cost us money. So we're going to take your unit and you're going to have to go. And that's literally what they'll do. And like, that's what I'm afraid of. Like, I'm afraid of that happening because if they were going to be fair about it, they wouldn't have went through and tried to get this loan. Because I think the loan is going to be the ultimate thing. Like, because usually you would have a choice to sell and get out, but because of the lawsuit, nobody can move or do anything.
So this sounds like it was a concerted effort that
exactly
this new woman who ran for the board president was a ringer.
Yeah,
that they put in there, and they already had the deal already set up.
Exactly.
And then from the other side, they had the lawsuit ready to go that would prevent people from selling or whatever.
Exactly.
So this way that they can basically take over the entire thing without paying any money.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there's no loss on their part. They just take it over. And if they demolish it, it's no big deal, right? They consider that a loss lead and an investment.
Yep.
How are your neighbors? How are your neighbors dealing with this? Are you guys banding together? Do you trust all of your neighbors?
I don't trust them at all. The one woman, like I said, I found out she works for like the Institute for Sustainable Communities, and I was like, holy shit, like that is a Rockefeller backed, grant that you're working under, and I really don't think that like you came here for the right reasons. Like they literally all moved in at once, like this entire group of people, like. So your job could be something different than their job, but they're still all working together.
Right.
So, yeah, like I don't trust them.
So like she's there to gain trust among the
owners. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Like, oh, we're gonna go and like sue them. Like you can't sue. Like I already know, like you can't sue them. Like condos and HOAs in general down here are so tyrannical. Like. But you're not going to be able to do anything about it. And like, people don't realize, like when you buy, like, I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like when you buy into like a condo association or a homeowners association, like you need to be involved on that board. Like, even if you don't like I hate that crap. Like, but you have to be involved. Like,
yes,
things like this happen. Like,
exactly.
So fast. And, I talked to my neighbors and I was like, we need to band together. Like, on top of the new condo laws that are coming, because I didn't even get there yet. Like once they're coming, and so once they happen, our building, I'm telling you right now, we are not going to pass inspection. Like, it is so ghetto the way that they fix things. So now you're going to look at repair bills on top of all the other money that you already owe. Nobody's going to be able to afford it.
No.
Right.
And
they're not going to apply that loan to those repairs.
No.
You don't think? What is the loan?
They're going to be so expensive.
Yeah.
They're going to be like millions.
So what's it for then?
What's the $3 million loan for?
That's literally just so they can fix the seawall, but also so they can enhance their personal boat slips. Like this one.
Okay.
That's me. Like, I don't own a boat slip. You know what I mean? Like, you're not like, can you believe? Like, I can't believe that I'm being asked.
And they're passing that along to everybody,
right? That's going to
evenly.
And they're privately deeded docks. Like, you own that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't own it. Like,
you shouldn't have to pay for it, right?
Right. And
that sounds like
you have to pay for that. I'm like, no, I don't.
Well,
like,
that sounds like the chink in the armor, right? Where that's your legal like wedge.
There's your legal wedge right there.
Exactly.
Right.
That's the only thing we're trying to hope for. We're like, well, maybe we can get them off the board by doing this. Like, very slim.
That's a corruption thing, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
it'd be a shame if something happened to your boat slip.
Right.
That's what I said. Yes, literally.
It's amazing
like-
what damage a little blowtorch can do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
Literally.
so you don't trust the new neighbors, obviously, the ones that have come in and they suddenly have, you know, sustainable backed incomes and these sort of job titles that indicate that they have plans to override every HOA member, everybody who pays into the HOA. So are there any other plans? And I want to ask this. So are there any other plans to shore up your rights? And let me ask this delicately. You're being the whole community over there is being undermined financially through all of this corruption and these loans and stuff.
Yeah.
And these crazy, outrageous increases in your dues. That's all an undermining of your personal financial stability. Is there any other undermining going on that's operating out? Like is anybody's reputation suddenly at stake? Like,
my whole life is at stake. Like, and it's crazy. Like, basically, like, we've banded together, and like the only ones that I trust are the ones that have been like the ones that you can tell have no motive, like they're not going to be able to afford it. So like the ones that are really going to be gentrified, like those are the ones that I trust because they really, really care. They're like, we cannot allow this to happen. Like we're losing our homes. Like, and I, you know, like I stick with those people, but I don't think like we're going to get anywhere, unfortunately. Like, and it's going to happen like one of these days, like we'll be kicked out and it'll be, you know, demolished, and then a high rise will come in and they'll already have their deeded dock slips all nice, like that we paid for, you know, like,
wow.
So that's what I think is going to happen. And outside of all of this, I'm also dealing with code enforcement. Oh my God, these people, like, I don't know if this is from me speaking out, like, cause you know, like I used to go to those meetings, like, and I, all the time I went, like, and I would just not harass them, but I would call out everything that they were doing, like called out their salaries. I called out like the campaign donations and the illegal money that he gave to the guy. Like I tried to do all these different things, and like I was really vocal. I held like a huge protest like against the sheriff of Palm Beach County. Like I was like coming at them, and I was like, I'm not stopping. Like you guys are corrupt. Like, and I'm calling it out. You know what I mean? Like I already knew, like I figured I'd get some pushback. I didn't know that they could do it financially, which is, you know, and they'd come after everybody else around you. Like I didn't think they would do that, but now I'm learning like that's probably what happened. And we've got a small family business in Lake Worth and been there for like, you know, 40 years now, like a long time.
Yeah.
And, you know, God, like you forget to weed whack one day, and this guy comes out and he's citing us for everything, like literally everything, like your weed, like with a ruler, like measuring the freaking weeds. Like, do you know how petty that is? I was like, are you serious? Like, I was laughing. I was like, bro, really? Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, and
letter of the law, not the spirit of the law, is what he's using.
Like took his job like way too seriously and was like, I'm fining you for this, I'm fining you for hurricane shutters. Like, we live in Florida, bro. Like, we get hurricanes. Like, what the hell? Like, he got mad.
What's that about? You're not supposed to have them?
I guess not. Like, we can't have them up all. Like, it's just so stupid. Like, the things that he did were like so ridiculous. Like, it's not even funny.
And this was for your home property or for the business property?
This is for the business property now.
Okay.
So
she works with her family.
Right.
Yeah. So like then it was like, you know, we're like, okay, you know, no big deal. This guy's got like a real problem. Like, we're just gonna fix everything and pay the fines. What we did. That's exactly what we did. And they weren't high then because it was like, you know, a few things. So we thought everything was good, you know. This other guy comes out and he's much nicer, like much nicer. He's like, yeah, he's like, I'm going to work with you. You're a small family business, blah, 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 all that talk. And I was like, great, you know, like I didn't know. I'm like, great, like finally, like somebody's not an asshole. Like, So he works with us, right? Approves one property. And the way the city has it, they split our property into like two different sections. So it's two different parcel numbers. So in 2020, they passed all of these new regulations and all of these zoning things and for sustainability. And they have a private organization basically telling them what to do. So, the community sustainability guy who runs everything is telling code enforcement and all these other things like how to do their job, which is crazy to me. But it's a public-private partnership thing.
Yep.
And so after we thought everything was fine, this was like 2 years ago, right? So now, fast forward to recently, we get a letter. And they're like, yeah, we're going to like foreclose on, the 28th of July. And we're like, what, bro? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why? What do you mean? Like, and
right.
when we called back, we're like, what are you guys doing? Like, we don't understand. Like, what the hell's going on? So after that, they came out, or I'm sorry, nobody came out. We went there. Nobody answered. We called them. They would refuse to answer because they would rather wait till the due date of them foreclosing and then talk to us. So we weren't going to give up. And so we kept calling and calling and calling. And it just turns out that the guy that was working with us just got fired, like out of nowhere. Like after
how convenient. Yeah.
Yeah. We got him out of the way.
Yep. He passed our property and he was like, listen, you don't have to let these people in next time. Like, put up a fence, put up a do not trespass, and tell them to get the heck off. Like, so we're like, that's what we're going to do, Well, he's fired now. So now the only guy that we have left is the same guy we first started with, who was a complete dick, like, literally for everything. Like, you can't have outdoor storage. Like, it's on our business license. Like, you can't do this. Like, your permits are up. Like, your grandfathering clauses are done. Like, it's just really crazy. Yeah. And so we got this lawyer and like, he was like it was like funny. Like the guy's like all confident. He's like, oh, this is no big deal. Like I can take care of this. Like they gave you a business license. Like they can't do that if you're in violation. So he talks to the code enforcer guy. And right after that, like everything changed. He's like, well, what did you guys do? Like to piss these people off? Like I really like, this is insane. Like, you know what I mean? Like these people, like, you should see, like, the code officer's response to the lawyer was like 1-word sentences. Like, he really did not care to talk to this guy. He's like, yeah, I don't really care. Like, we're code enforcement. Like, we could do whatever we want. Like, you know what I mean? Like, which is crazy. Like, they don't really have any oversight. Like, code enforcement can take your property. Like, and because of the sustainability goals and, like, the new community sustainability thing that they're doing, they're gentrifying the entire area of Lake Worth, from what I found out. Like, a lot of like the Spanish and like Mexican families that live over there, like they're getting notices on their doors like left and right that they have to leave. And so on the same street that we're on, they're also building like a huge like mixed use apartment complex. So like, in my opinion, like they would pay way more than we would, in taxes, and they'd make more money off them. So like they're probably looking at us like, oh, like we can just take their property, like, and it's crazy, like, but that's literally what we're dealing with, like, and it's all happening at once, like.
So you've got everything going on at the condo, which is just inverted and turned upside down. You own your own property, but you don't really. And then you've got what you believe to be a targeting because of your outspokenness in 2020 on into 2021 a little bit about the concerns you were seeing regarding impact investments, what was going on at the schools. I remember watching those videos when you addressed the council. So you feel that your work and the family you work for is being targeted because of that.
Yeah, like I watched this video and I was reading about different cases that happen in Florida, and this one company, or they're like a pack of lawyers called the Institute for Justice. They have done like numerous videos on like code enforcement and the police using code enforcement as a tactic and a tool to harass people. Like, and it lines up perfectly. Like
Yeah.
And they also look at like your criminal history. So, like I'm not like the best, like, in my past, like, so I clearly have like, everything they want. Like they're looking for people that have like, like maybe an arrest or two, people that are outspoken against the county, people that they think might commit a crime. And it's
Yeah.
all programmed through data algorithms. So like it's
Mhm.
predictive policing. It's like Minority Report down here. So
Right.
they're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, you popped up on our list. We're going to
Mhm.
come visit you and we're going to like, ask you what you're doing wrong. Like, even if nobody's doing anything wrong, like they're harassing people. So a couple people got fed up with it and they were like, you're not coming to talk to my son. Like, just because I have a felony, like, doesn't mean that you can come after my son because you think he's going to commit a crime. That's completely unconstitutional. And so since the father stopped complying with the police, they sent code enforcement to his house. And like they did with me, like they were measuring their grass with a ruler. They were coming after him for like unclear letters on his mailbox, like just outrageous things, like completely ridiculous, and hitting them with like a ton of fines, like ridiculous amounts of fines. And so it's kind of like the same pattern
Mhm.
that I saw. And I'm really wondering, like, Palm Beach County hasn't openly said that they're using predictive policing, but I guarantee you they are.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, this is where all the billionaires like live on the other side. Like all
Mhm.
these corrupt things happen. Like they've got to be using this too. And it's
Mhm.
only in Pasco County, which is like right in our backyard. So I'm imagining that they're also doing this. And so to me, I think like I don't know if it's like a consequence of what I've done, like, because I don't want to sound like I'm crazy, you know what I mean? Like I don't
No,
feel
no.
like I don't
No.
want to be like, oh, they're coming after me, and like no,
It's they're
No.
using so what they're using you as a scapegoat
Right.
and as
yeah,
an excuse to go after more, right?
yeah,
So, they're like, oh, hey, we've got a cash cow here.
Right.
We
yeah,
can use her as a jumping off point to take out this business, which is taking up valuable property that we could use for something else,
yeah, exactly,
and a condo and these condo owners.
Mhm.
It's a boon, and so this is like hardcore class war.
yeah,
Totally.
And
Yeah.
they're using behavior modification and behavior
Program.
programming and things like that, along with the predictive policing tactics,
and we
while
got
not
5G
saying that they're
towers
doing.
everywhere,
What's that?
and we have our 5G towers everywhere. So,
Really, that's starting to pop up.
oh yeah, like
And are they putting them
29.
on like lampposts or something, or how are they installing
So
those?
they're like lampposts, and then they have the poles, and they're like in between them, and like they made some of them into trees. Like I thought that was funny. I'm like, you're
Oh
really
my.
like that's clearly not a tree. You know what I mean? But
Right.
it's
They've been
5G
doing that with cell
towers,
towers for a long time, but
and
yeah.
Yeah.
they're just everywhere, like
Wow.
everywhere, up and down on my street. Because like I said, I lived in a red zone segregated area, so it's like very poor minorities, like Black, Latino, like and I'm like white, but we're all in like the same area,
Yeah,
and
well,
so
it's always against poor people,
exactly.
but then they
And
use
yeah,
racism as a means of dividing the poor.
exactly. And
Yeah,
so, like, literally, like, on Dixie Highway, like, it's a main street. And it's, everybody knows Dixie Highway, like, in our area. They're like, oh, Dixie, like, it's that kind of area. So, all down Dixie Highway into Lake Worth, because we're literally the town right next to Lake Worth. All of that street is all 5G towers. They've got 5G on our beaches now. It's turning into a smart city. We've got cameras on every telephone pole. We've got license plate readers now. Like you cannot come into Lake Worth or Boynton without having your license plate scanned and being on a camera.
It's a
It's not.
police state. It
It's
sounds
it's
like.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a total police state,
Yeah.
and it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. Like it's been crazy.
Yeah.
now are you seeing this or hearing about this in other parts of the state?
Yeah, yeah, everywhere. Everywhere. Like everyone's like, "Oh, I'm going to move to Florida." Like no
Right.
you're not. Like you think you can, but like you're going to get hit regardless. Like banks, for example, are coming in and they're buying up the empty houses everywhere. Like even people's homes that they live in, banks have tried to steal them from them. Like my friend, like he's literally like had to fight this bank off like 5 times. He's like, no, you cannot assume my mortgage. Like, this is my mortgage and my parents' house. Like, we're going to pay this off and you're not going to take it. Like, banks are,
Wow.
yeah, it's
Yeah. It
insane.
it
Like,
it doesn't help that, the mortgage companies basically, once they get that mortgage established, maybe 2 or 3 payments in, and they turn it over to other investors.
Yeah.
So there's this provenance that gets squishy and muddy to where people don't always, they think they're paying their mortgage company, but they're paying their mortgage company, but that money's going back to the new investor.
Exactly.
Right? And so they're not paying the person that they actually thought they were borrowing the money from. So it makes it easier for banks like what you're describing to come in and assume that loan and just like take it over.
Yep.
And then they can just turn around and go, oh, well, you know what? We've decided that, you've paid enough and that we really want the value of the property is worth more to us than your loan. So bye.
What they're doing.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan? I mean, do you have a personal plan at all?
No, like,
No.
I mean, it's like, sorry, it's hard because like literally like while all this condo stuff's happening, like the only thing we were banking on, like, and every lawyer has told me the same thing. They're like, listen, like, it's really sad that what's happening to you, like, but there's nothing we can really do. Like, you have to control and get on the board. So we'd have to, like, the only thing we can do is like kick these crazy people off the board, which would be by getting an entire community vote, which is very difficult to do. Like, we have people that don't live here full time because it's Florida. We have people that don't want to even be bothered with this. Like, that we have people that are like brainwashed by these people because, like I said, they send them in to gain their trust. So all these people that have boat slips are like, oh, they're redoing my boat slip. Like, they're not even like looking at the bigger picture. And that's what pisses me off. Like, I'm like trying to tell these people, I'm like, listen, like, you are getting screwed. Like, I know you think this woman's your friend. She's really not, it's like, I'm not trying to be a dick. Like,
well, it's awesome that you have a nice boat slip, but that'll be great when you don't have a place to live.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, how much is that going to be worth? Like, when you don't have a unit, like, you're going to live out of your boat? You know what I mean? Like, they don't think. And so it's been an uphill battle trying to get people involved. And so the other thing I was thinking was, like, maybe I could go to the city of Boynton, which, going to the city is like not anywhere, but trying to get the environmental people involved, because if we get them involved, like, maybe we can stop them from like dredging or like doing something, like, you got to think about every single angle to come after them.
Well,
like,
something that happened in San Francisco many years ago, they wanted to put in bike lanes throughout the city, and those bike lanes got halted. That plan to put in those bike lanes got halted by a guy who put a what was it, like it was some sort of, and I can't think of the word, it's a legal word, an injunction. Yeah. He put an injunction on it and said that they had to do an environmental impact study on the bike lanes. Yeah.
That's a good idea, because we literally like I have seen manatees out here. I've seen birds everywhere. Like,
well, there you go.
That might be your in.
There you go.
I hated that injunction because it made it really unsafe for me to ride around in the city. But but in the long run, it was a very clever thing for them to do to stop that from happening. So it might be, and again, like you said, I mean, manatees are an endangered species.
Right. Yeah.
And you could easily bring that up and
like that's the only thing I'm hoping on. Like, and unfortunately, like, the city just broke the lease with the property across from us, which used to be a nature preserve. Now they're like, we don't, maybe you can develop it. We're not going to keep the lease. Like, it's terrible. Like, everything is being developed in Florida. Like, it doesn't matter what, like, they don't care, all they care about is money. And like, that's why I used to go to those meetings. I'd be like, you people don't care about anything but money. Like, people need to stand up. Like, and I was trying really hard, like, to get people to like listen and care. And like I said, people just, they think like Florida is so free. Like, I'm like, you don't get it. Like, they're going to find one way or another to come after your property. Like, and because everybody's coming in and moving in down here, like, pretty soon people aren't going to own their own homes, and you're going to be renting from a bank that owns the property. Like,
exactly.
That's one of the goals. That's
that
one
is
of the goals.
Absolutely
and either that or just like moving people out so that rich people can live there. Well, we lost her. She said she was having trouble with her
Okay.
feed.
So this actually,
It's actually probably a good
it's probably a good time
Yeah.
to wrap it up a little bit. Let's make us a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There
There
we
we
go.
go.
Get the jellies in there.
So we're sorry about the heart stop, but she did tell us before we started recording today that she was having some DDoS attacks
On
on her computer, that
yeah.
her internet was going in and out. So we were very lucky to have been able to talk to her
Yeah.
for as long as we did before her internet went out.
Yeah, I know.
So we will be in touch with her. And
and I think, basically, the gist or the overall picture of this, and we wanted to kind of bring this into a sense of clarity. This is a thumbnail, or this is an example of what's going on in the United States. And this kind of thing is happening in different ways depending on where people live. We have been experiencing all kinds of fuckery out there, whether it's fireworks, endless fireworks going on, or these random shooters who show up and fire off a few rounds and then disappear into the night, not doing anything except scaring people.
Exactly.
And getting the population to be afraid and frightened, and this is redundant, but start calling for more police presence, or
Right.
I'm going to move. Right. So getting people to start thinking about leaving their area and leaving their property,
Right.
open to being purchased by whoever. Right. And then fires in California, flooding, whatever the case may be. And it can come down to just basic, benign neglect that will allow these things to start taking place, where you get these kind of scenarios that allow for disaster capitalism to move in and start removing people from where they've been living forever. Right.
Absolutely.
The city, the little town of Paradise in California that got so affected by those fires a few years ago, people weren't able to stay there because they couldn't, a lot of those people, I think, thought they were going to live there the rest of their lives. And they weren't in a big city. Right. They weren't in a populated area. It was a small town off the beaten track that they felt was perfect for their life, and that wouldn't be affected by things like this. But it can happen pretty much anywhere. And what we're trying to say is that you may think that Klaus Schwab has a bullseye on you, but it's not Klaus Schwab. He's just the meat puppet.
It's your HOA manager,
right?
It's your sustainable development community leader. Right. Somebody completely innocuous. It's lower bureaucracy that's going after you.
Right. And they're
people who aren't necessarily elected.
Right. They're not elected. Thank you. That's an important factor. And they're doing the bidding of the investor class and the people who are looking out to make lots of money, and they don't care who they step on to do this.
Right. And I think listening to Brandi Ann and hearing how she is attempting to work every possible angle in order to secure her home and secure her rights to her home, I think we can learn from that. I mean, we just have to be creative and innovative, and we have to keep trying, even if ultimately there is failure at the end of it. You have to know that you tried. You have to say that you went nuclear. We had to go the nuclear route when we left San Francisco to come to Pittsburgh in order to secure stability in our lives. It's something we never ever thought that we would ever have to do, but we did it anyway, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not great, but at least we're in a much more stable environment where we own something that's ours outright. And I think owning property, or owning home, or your own home, or owning something that's yours that no one can touch is really important right now. As we move further and further into these, the messaging that's coming out is that an emergency authorization will be issued over the climate crisis. Like today is Wednesday, July 20th.
That we're recording this,
and that we're recording this, and it's going to go live on this coming Saturday. By the time you're watching this, we may be in a state of emergency. They were saying that it was the end of this week that
Friday is usually when they do that
the Biden administration might announce something. I'm not a fearmonger. I'm not a chicken littler. I don't want to chicken little this. So I'm like, whatever, even if he does announce it, it's probably going to be, like you said earlier, it's probably going to go more towards, the corporate class and won't affect individuals much.
I think also, yeah, so it'll affect businesses and things like that. But it also is one of those things where it just kind of opens up the possibility to do things that, wouldn't be there otherwise, right? So
exactly,
it creates a situation that can be difficult. It doesn't mean that something bad is going to happen instantly,
right? Exactly, it's something in the future.
It's something in the future. It
sets a precedent,
but see, it allows them to do whatever they want to.
I know,
and you don't, and like what Brandi Ann was talking about, where they will withhold the information from you, just telling you that your property's under threat. And
with the code enforcement,
but with the code enforcement, but they won't say when or where or what. Well, they'll give you a date, but they won't allow you to talk to them about it, and they'll withhold information from you deliberately so that you can't do anything about it.
Right.
And I think that's the way that that's how the emergency
the emergency
authorization might work in the future. So it's not benign, but it's also like there's nothing we can really say right now that can say whether it's good or bad or indifferent.
Right.
We just don't know, and whether it happens or not is another story.
So who knows?
And even us, I mean, we still, like I said, they try to force people out of an area, and we're not 100% safe. Right. And and so I think what you have to be is vigilant and knowledgeable and understand when things happen and what's going on around you. So you have to pay attention to the local politics and the local, money situation as well.
And to wrap this up and to close this out, I just want to thank Brandi Ann so much for being so diligent in her research and not letting these corporate types that have moved into her home, basically, intimidate her. Brandi Ann is one of the smartest people I've ever met, and I think we could all learn from that. She has I think like a photographic memory. The way she rattles off information so easily based on just doing a little bit of research, I'm pretty much in awe of that. So I think that we could all really benefit from learning about the history of our communities, who's been hired and what their jobs are. I thought it was really interesting that she discovered that the code enforcement dude is actually answering to the community sustainable dude, like this, and because you wouldn't put those two together necessarily, right? So
to the police,
right? So I think that there's something to that. We need to know what sort of handshake deals are going on. And there's ways to find out. All you have to do is find out, how these people are getting funded, how these departments are being funded. Are they being funded through a tax base, or are they being funded through an investor class that is a shadowy class that we're not supposed to know about? And then once you discover these things, I think you can discover why things might be happening in your community. Because right now, a lot of people are reacting to the negative things that are happening in their community without really understanding why. Why aren't my streets getting paved? Why isn't this happening? Why are
these things taking place?
Why are these things taking place? And just getting upset about it, as opposed to really looking behind the scenes and seeing who's funding the various departments. So thank you, Brandi Ann, for that. Thank you for being so knowledgeable, and thank you for sharing your story. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's it for this bookmark.
Yes.
We will see you next time on the next bookmark.
Great. Thanks for joining today.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bookmark is made possible by our patrons and supporters. You can help us continue our work by becoming a patron at patreon.com/bookofhours. Join Rockfin or leave us a tip at rockfin.com/bookofhours, or leave us a one-time donation at paypal.me/bookofhours. Or you can use Cash App. Thank you.